My wife divorced me the day I got my diagnosis. She returned. Years later with my daughter and a lawyer. Too late. Hello Reddit I plus here. I was 34, a fairly average guy. Married, one daughter, Sophie, who was 4 at the time, and working as an engineer for a mid-sized firm in Michigan. My wife, Melissa, and I had been together for nearly 8 years, married for 5. From the outside, we looked solid. A nice house, a kid who adored us, vacations every summer. You know the story. But behind closed doors, things were strained. We weren't fighting, not exactly. It was more like we existed next to each other, not with each other. She was always tired, always had plans that didn't include me, but I chalked it up to young parent stress, work burnout, whatever let me believe that we were still okay. Then came the diagnosis. I'd been feeling off for a few months, fatigue, blurred vision, some numbness in my hands. After a series of tests, MRIs, and a terrifying amount of waiting, I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. I remember sitting in that cold doctor's office with my brain spinning while the neurologist calmly explained what it meant. I wouldn't die, not necessarily, but my life was going to change. No cure, just management, therapy, and a slow, unpredictable decline. That same night, I told Melissa. I laid it all out, and she just stared at me. No hug, no tears, no, we'll get through this. She stood up and said, I can't do this. 3 days later, she served me divorce papers. No joke. 3 days later. It was like she'd been waiting for a reason. The ink wasn't even dry on my diagnosis paperwork before she was packing her bags and telling me she was taking Sophie. Her reasoning, I wouldn't be able to care for a child, that she needed stability, and I couldn't offer that anymore. I was too exhausted to fight. My world was crashing, my body was betraying me, and now my wife and child were gone. The divorce went through quickly. She had a good lawyer, I didn't. She got primary custody. I got visitations. Every other weekend, which slowly turned into once a month, then holidays. And then, not at all. She moved 3 hours away, changed numbers, made excuses. I tried to fight, but without the money and with my condition flaring up, it was a losing battle. I sent gifts, letters, voice recordings for Sophie. I don't even know if she ever got them. Fast forward to last year. I'd been in therapy, physically and mentally. I had a part-time job I loved, a good support system, and most importantly, I was doing better, stable even, no major relapses. I'd made peace with a lot of things, except one, losing my daughter. Then came the knock at my door. It was a crisp October afternoon. I was sipping tea and watching the leaves fall when I heard it. I opened the door, and there they were, Melissa, Sophie, and some guy in a suit holding a briefcase. Sophie looked grown, 12 now, tall, same brown eyes as me. Her face was unreadable, caught somewhere between recognition and confusion. Melissa started to speak, but I wasn't hearing her. My heart was pounding. I couldn't believe she was really there. Then the lawyer stepped forward and introduced himself, said Melissa wanted to revisit custody arrangements, that Sophie was asking questions about her father, that Melissa was willing to allow supervised visitations again, under the right terms. She wasn't offering this out of the goodness of her heart, she was demanding child support. Apparently, Melissa had fallen on hard times. She'd quit her job to homeschool Sophie during COVID, then never got back into the workforce. Her boyfriend, yes, boyfriend, had recently left, and she suddenly realized that the man she once discarded was still legally obligated to pay. They handed me papers. Melissa had the nerve to act like this was some beautiful reunion, like she was throwing me a bone by letting me back into my daughter's life. But here's the thing. 2 months before that visit, I had officially relinquished my rights. It had taken years of legal back and forth, but because she had made it impossible to have a relationship with my daughter, and because my health wasn't guaranteed, I'd stepped away. It broke me, but I did it so Sophie could have peace. So I could have peace. I told her that. I looked Melissa in the eye, calmly handed the papers back and said, "Too late." She blinked, stunned. The lawyer was confused. I explained, politely but clearly, that I had legally signed away my parental rights. I was no longer obligated to her or Sophie, financially or otherwise. Melissa exploded, accused me of being selfish, of abandoning them. She said Sophie needed her father. I looked at my daughter, my beautiful girl who had become a stranger, and said, "I've been your father this whole time. You just never knew, because your mom didn't let you." Sophie didn't say a word. Her eyes welled up. I think part of her understood. I hope someday she truly does. They left. I haven't heard from them since. It still hurts. I won't pretend it doesn't. I lost years I'll never get back with my daughter. I grieved her like a death, and part of me still dreams that one day, maybe when she's grown, she'll look for me, and I'll be here. But as for Melissa, the woman who left the day my life changed, she doesn't get to come back now that things are better. Not with her hand out. Not with her lawyer. Not with some fake smile and a sob story. You don't get to abandon someone in their worst moment, and then expect to be part of the comeback. After they left, I just stood in the doorway for a long time. The breeze felt colder than before. I closed the door, sat back down, and stared at the untouched tea on the table. Still warm. It felt surreal, like the whole thing was a dream, or maybe a nightmare replaying itself with a new twist. But this time, I didn't fall apart. I didn't curl into myself or call anyone in a panic. I just breathed. And for the first time in years, I felt like I was standing on solid ground. A week later, I got a letter in the mail. It was from Sophie. No return address, just my name written in blue ink. Carefully, like someone trying to remember how to spell it. My heart nearly stopped. I opened it with shaking hands. It was short, honest, hesitant. "Hi. Mom said you didn't want to see me, but I know that's not true now. I don't remember a lot, but I found one of your letters in a box in the garage. I read it. You called me your sunflower. I remember that. Can I write to you again?" I cried. I'm not ashamed of it. It felt like all those years of silence cracked open in just a few sentences. I wrote her back the same day, told her I never stopped loving her, that I tried. God, I tried. But things were complicated and grown-ups don't always make the right choices. I said I didn't blame her for anything and that if she wanted to write, I'd always be here to read. And she did. Over the next few months, we started writing regularly. Real, old-school letters, because Melissa wouldn't give her my number or email. I wasn't going to press. I knew if I did, it might all disappear again. Sophie would tell me about school, how she loved astronomy, how she was learning to cook, and had accidentally set the microwave on fire trying to melt chocolate chips. I told her about the books I was reading, the therapy dog I volunteered with at the VA hospital, and the way I still drink coffee even though my doctor tells me to cut back. We slowly, carefully, started rebuilding something. Then came her 13th birthday. She asked if she could visit me. Melissa said no. She refused, claimed I was manipulating her daughter, told Sophie that I was dangerous, unstable, a liar. She threatened to take away her phone, her journals, anything she could use to reach me. But Sophie had grown. She wasn't the little girl Melissa could control anymore. She found my sister on Facebook and reached out, said she wanted to visit me, even if it was just for a weekend. My sister, God bless her, called me in tears and asked if she could fly Sophie out as her guest. No legal mess involved. It was a risk. I knew Melissa might retaliate, but for once I didn't care. So 2 months later, I met my daughter at the airport. She came down the escalator wearing a hoodie that said NASA, dragging a Galaxy print suitcase and looking like she was trying so hard not to cry. I was already crying. We hugged like we'd been holding our breath for 6 years. That weekend was everything. We cooked pancakes together. She asked me if I remembered her favorite movie as a kid. I did. It was Finding Nemo. We watched it on my old couch, and she fell asleep with her head on my shoulder. I didn't move for hours. We didn't talk much about the past, just existed in the present. That was enough. After that visit, everything changed. Melissa found out, of course. She blew up my sister's phone, accused her of kidnapping, said she'd call the cops, but she never did. Maybe because she knew deep down the court of public opinion wouldn't be on her side if this ever came out. Or maybe because she was scared Sophie would finally tell the truth. We didn't hear from her again. Sophie and I now talk weekly. Calls, texts, even video chats. She came again for winter break, and this summer, She wants to stay a whole month. My house has her drawings on the fridge now. A second toothbrush in the bathroom. Hair ties on the table. It's nothing fancy, but it's ours. And while I'll never forget how Melissa left me when I was at my lowest, I've learned to let that part of the story stay in the past where it belongs, because now I get to write a new chapter with my daughter.